You are now listening to the smooth sounds of Lmk. Ciao, beautiful souls. My name's Atiya, and I am your future bestie in your head. I am a sex-positive animal activist. I grew up in Queens, New York, and was homeschooled/unschooled for about 12 years. I was a virgin until I was 24 and attempted to have a hoe phase for 2 years, which eventually led me to being accidentally/intentionally celibate. And here we are today. My past left me with a lot of wild stories, a lot of lessons, and a hell of a lot of trauma. Thank God for my wicked sense of humor, because God only knows I would have perished by now. With that being said, this is your gentle reminder that the Lmk experience was created as a safe space for me to reflect and share the lessons that I've learned from past trauma. Shit gets real on this podcast, and topics such as domestic violence, sexual assault, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and suicide may be referenced. If you are working through feeling triggered by certain topics, this may not be the show for you right now, and that's okay. Healing takes time and isn't linear. I'll be here when you're ready. Now, without further ado, the Lmk experience is an experience. So get ready for laughs, crazy story times, and life-changing pleasure tips here on the Lmk Experience podcast. It's my show. I used to be a hoe, but now I'm not. I'm a thought. Yeah. Welcome to the Lmk show. If you are watching this on video right now, then I'm videotaping myself. I'm so excited. I haven't videotaped since, I want to say September or October, but it just got to be a lot to edit and stuff. I'm not going to start off complaining, but I'm really excited because I feel like I'm trying to take another step in my podcast career. And the story that I'm about to tell you this week, you need to see it to believe it. All right? But I just watched back, a playback of a video that I just did. And I'm sitting here with this pop filter on with my phone, y'all. Because my journey with my microphone has been a lot. And I don't know. I hope this looks okay. Can y'all hear me? Check 1, check 2. Okay, well, we're going to do our best. So first I want to do a little catch up, and then we're going to jump right into our story times. We're going to jump into how I celebrated Pride and ran away from a lesbian this week, and, celebrating Pride outside of the country, which is something new for me, celebrating abroad. We're going to talk about my hoe phase and why it was toxic. And we are also going to talk about having sex with 2 men in 1 week, which was not my most proud moment. And it's not because I had sex with 2 men in 1 week. It was my proudest moment because of who the first person was. And okay, we're going to get into it. And then we're also going to talk about feet play, which I'm very, very, very excited about. So a catch up. First things first, my stepmom surprised my dad with a trip for me to come to New York as a gift for him for Father's Day. And he didn't know that I was coming. And so last week I spent my week in New York, literally with my family, catching up. And it was so absolutely refreshing. If you have been a follower of mine or on this journey with me, then you know that this is really big. It was very, very big. And I'm trying not to overshare and keep personal boundaries together and just enjoy my good shit. But just know that I've been on a journey for the last couple of years when it comes to unconditional love and opening my heart and accepting myself, accepting others. And I feel like this week was a testament to all of the work that I put in, all of the work that they put in, and just the restoration of our relationship has really made my heart feel so light. I knew this was a part of my life that I was missing, but I didn't realize how much I had missed it until I was physically there and was like, wow, I'm so grateful to be able to experience this now when I'm in such a healthier space and vice versa. So yeah, shout out to my stepmom. That was one of the best gifts that, it was a gift for my dad, but honestly, it felt like it was a gift for me as well. And my dad said that it was the best Father's Day that he's ever had. So that was really, really beautiful. And yeah, I was proud of myself because normally when I come to New York, I am very stressed trying to see 52 billion people. And it's just a lot. So I decided, this time I was just going to spend time with my family. And so that was really great. I got to see my uncle and I had a blast. So yes, that's some great news. Then I came back to my home abroad. And, if you don't know where I live by now, then go back to some of my old podcast episodes to find out. But oh my God, remind me to tell y'all about Pride, which I said I was going to talk to you about, but I just had a flashback to what this girl said to me. So Fast forward, like I came home, everything was cool. I was so proud of myself because in the airport, I was speaking Espanol. And I think that the customs agent was like flirting with me. And I was like, papi, hola, like Young Miami. And so yeah, I was really proud of myself for that. And I just feel like everything went so smoothly. Oh my God. So, I just need to talk about white people and hygiene for a second because I'm a little bit taken aback. I had somebody watch my cat, and the condition that my cat stuff came back in, like my cat apparently like vomited on one of the sheets. And I don't know when this vomit happened, but it was dried up when I got the blanket back. And the woman who watched my cat was like, oh yeah, she threw up on the sheet. I didn't wash it off. Girl, what? Like that, I was speechless. That's not all though. Then she sent me back my cat's old dry food, right? Which was fine, like, because it had only been out for like 4 days. She munches on it throughout the days, but I try to switch it out frequently because I know that it gets stale here because of the humidity. But I'm like, I think that she can last this one last day because I have new cat dry food for her anyway. Why did she put it in a container that had old, dried up, crusty, wet food in it? So I had like dried up, crusty, wet food mixed with my cat's dry food. I just threw it out. It smelled crazy. And then she was like, yeah, she hasn't really been eating. I'm like, I don't blame her. Like if her food was kept in this condition. And then there was another part where she gave me back her wet food bowl, but didn't rinse out the wet food out of like, she just wiped it out, but left like wet food decay on the bowl. And it just made me think back to when they said, like, white people don't wash their legs. And I'm like, is that really a thing? Like, have white people really said, like, they don't wash their legs? Because I just need to know, like, what is that? Why is hygiene so different? What is that? And if you're white and you're a listener, like, this is no, like, you shouldn't be offended if you wash your legs, like, and if you don't do stuff like that. But I was just like, it just was weird. It just was like a off experience, and I always like making my cat feel like she's at home, so I'm very grateful for them for watching her. But I know that if they would have had me watch their cat and I would have given them back like a dirty food bowl and what else, the dirty bowl with the dried up wet food and the blanket with the vomit, they would have been very disappointed. So yeah, that made me kind of sad. But like, people are people, and I had a great week, so I refused to like let that get me down. It just was what it was, and I learned a lesson from it. So if you're listening to this, like, I'm not mad at you. I was just disappointed in the condition of getting my stuff back. I just thought that it was like common courtesy that when you give somebody something in a specific condition, like clean, then you should also get it back clean. So yeah, I was just thrown off. But I mean, I doubt you listen to my podcast, but if you do, like, thanks for watching my cat. I appreciate you. I understand that there were some circumstances towards the end in life that I guess life just started lifing. But yeah, I just wanted my stuff back clean. That's all. Thanks for listening to me vent, y'all. But that was an experience. Oh my God, it's so okay. Whew. I thought it wasn't recording anymore. And then I ended up going to Pride, which was really fun. Like I said, I'm living abroad now, so I got to experience that in a new country. And so I saw this woman, and I was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. Because, I love me some femmes. But the last time I went to Pride in Atlanta, all of the femmes had girlfriends. And they were all... what's the proper term? Studs? Is stud a rude term? I can't really like keep up. Like sometimes I feel like people don't mind studs, sometimes I feel like they do. So I'll just say mask presenting. But they all had mask presenting girlfriends, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess I'm not gonna be here to find love. So I ended up so back to present day. I'm at Pride, and I ended up and not. Like, I didn't find love because they were with a whole partner. And I remember this one time I went to this lesbian club, and, like, all of the people with their partners, like, held on to their partners mad tight when they saw, like, a whole bunch of single girls come in the club. I don't know what that's about, but if you've experienced that, like, in lesbianism, I guess let me know. It's just something that I've observed. But and even watching, like, The Ultimatum, even though I don't even know if that was, like, a really healthy depiction of lesbianism. Like, it wasn't a healthy depiction of a lot of stuff, but... Anywho's, this lesbian woman that I said that I thought was beautiful walked up to me through the crowd, y'all. I should input. At the end of this video, I'm gonna input exactly what I said, like my recap of this experience. But basically, she came up to me and was like, "I love your top," because I had this like glitter butterfly top. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And she was like, oh, where did you get it from? And I said the store, which I'm not gonna like endorse. And then she was like, oh, what? Like, what'd you say? And I started panicking. And I was like, this shop from China? And then she said, oh, okay. Like, she said something else. And then I just blacked out. Whatever she said, she could have said, I love you, have my babies. And I wouldn't have heard it because I just blacked out. And then I just remember there was a motorcycle coming through. So I like touched her arm and like pulled her in. I saved her life. I saved my baby's life. And then I think she thanked me. And then I continued to black out and stutter. And I just kind of like backed up and faded to black. And that was my experience with the beautiful lesbian. The bi panic was real. But shout out to all the people with bisexual flags. Like, that made my heart so happy. And in regards to sexuality, I was talking to my gal pal, and we were talking about my sexuality. And she was asking why I feel like I have to choose, because I said, like, I'm done with men. And then the other day I was talking to my mom, and I was like, yeah, like, I see myself dating a feminine man. And she was like, oh, you're still trying to date men? And I was like, I don't know. Like, obviously I'm gonna for you. Obviously. But no, I realized that I'm not confused anymore. I'm just being. I just want to love a person. I just want to love people. I just want to love somebody with a beautiful soul, and I don't care what kind of body that they come in. I do know that I probably will not be able to ever connect with a cis hetero, toxically masculine man again. Because, like, why would I ever want to interact with somebody that has the name like toxic in their being? But I could see myself dating a man who is very much so in touch with his feminine side. I could see myself dating a bisexual man. I could see myself dating a bisexual woman. And I could see myself dating a lesbian woman. So there's a spectrum. Oh my God. But, like, can we talk about trans people for a second? Because they are so fucking beautiful. Why? And it's terrifying. And it's saddening to know all of the, like, major hate and abuse that they experience for literally existing in their own bodies. So I would love to have a guest on the show that can talk more about, like, the trans experience, because I don't want to misspeak. But I've been seeing some people on my timeline, and I've been like, wow, like, I literally love you. They've either been trans men or trans women, on both sides, like both spectrums. And yeah, I'm into it all. So I don't want to give myself the title of pan, because I cannot label myself again. I don't even want to give myself bisexual, because I don't feel like that truly encompasses me. But we have a flag now, so I kind of want to stay in there. But yeah, I am just me. I feel like Keke Palmer. Like, baby, I'm a Tia. Like, I can't keep up with the sexualities and with my own sexualities. I mean, do you? I support you in whatever you do, but I can't keep up. I already have a lot of labels going on right now, like neurodivergent, homeschooled, used to be a virgin at 24. It's a lot of stuff, like anxious, like, okay, all right. So I gotta pick and fucking choose. But yeah, I feel like I'm definitely just on this journey of self-love, and whoever I'm supposed to love after that will definitely come, and it will be a beautiful existence. Okay, with that being said, so tell me why I'm sitting at the beach. I just needed to decompress. Like, Pride was cool, but just like the crowd and a lot of energy, and I was overwhelmed, and I had to walk past this place with animal cruelty, and it was just too much. Like, it was just too much on my brain. So I went to go eat, and then I took a sit on the beach, and I remember I got this weird feeling, right? So I'm like dangling my feet off the boardwalk, and then I look underneath the boardwalk, and why is there this man with his face planted in the sand? I think that he was just entirely very drunk, but he had his face planted in the sand, and yeah, was knocked cold out. And then there was another woman sitting maybe like a foot away from him with, I want to say, 12 open beer cans. And she was opening up another one as we spoke. So I don't know if she killed those or if he helped her kill those, hence why he was underneath the bridge taking a nap. But yeah, that was crazy. So I moved over a little bit. But what gets crazier is that I was sitting minding my business, and this woman walks up to me. She started speaking Spanish. And so I said, un poquito español. And she was I was like, yo hablo poquito español. Yo hablas poquito español. I'm practicing. But she was like, oh, okay. So I said, translator. And she's like, no, she was fucking gorgeous, by the way. Literally gorgeous. So she's like, no, yo quiero, I want, and then she started pointing to her arm. And she was like, ¿cómo se dice negra? I was like, black? She's like, sí. Yo quiero negra friend. I want a black friend. So you would think that that'd be like, whoa, but that's not the first time that happened to me. Literally not the first time that happened to me. I was out to eat with someone that I had met on a retreat, and she had also told her partner that she was out to eat with her black friend. And she explained to me why she told him, because then she listened to a voice note from him, and that voice note was him, who was a white man, talking about how he assumed I was black because she said I was from Atlanta. And it was like a little bit uncomfortable, a lot of bit uncomfortable. But she was such a kind soul. I knew that she didn't mean anything by it. But she texted me later and told me that it was because she had always wanted a black friend, and she doesn't feel like she gets along with white women. And like I said, like, I feel like their souls mean well. Like, I don't feel like they mean to be offensive. So it's hard for me to be offended. The first time, I flowed through it very gracefully. The second time, because she was a stranger, I felt like I was getting picked out of a crowd, and she just wanted to have a black friend. Now, plot twist, she says, yes, mi amigo, and then she says, mi novio. I'm like, which one is it, your friend or your boyfriend? So I see this white guy over to the left of me, like, kind of just like lurking. And she's like, yeah, mi novio saw you and said, oh, she's such an angel. She looks like an angel. So I'm like, thank you so much. So she's asking me all these questions about myself, and it was a fucking lie. And I was like, am I about to get sex trafficked, or are you about to try to have a threesome with me? Like, regardless of what it is, I don't want to do it. So, like, I just want to sit on the beach and just chill. So there was that. So that's basically how I spent my pride, was either being coerced into a threesome or possibly getting sex trafficked. That was interesting. And like I said, the saddest part was that she was really attractive. It just felt like God was dangling a beautiful woman in my face and was like, psych, she has a fucking man who's over there staring at you while they're on the rocks. So I got up and I left. But with that being said, let's talk about my hoe phase, because I think that a lot of sexual exploration has come from this. And the point of this episode is to tell y'all that I'm not against having a sexual exploration phase, but what I am against is losing your self-worth trying to please other people without knowing what pleases you in the process. I am against being with people who genuinely don't care about your self-safety, your sexual safety, your wellness, your emotional wellness, and things of that sort. So my hoe phase actually started when I was a virgin, because I was very much so exploring my sexuality. You know, I actually feel like my sexual exploration was more fun before I started having sex. So I felt like just the people that I was having these experiences with were people that I genuinely were attracted to, and genuinely felt like I just felt like I was really pulling them. Like, I felt like I was really doing a great job with the people I was choosing. I look at some of them now and I'm like, that's how you look? Wow, was my self-esteem that low? But I do think that some of them were attractive still. A lot of them got kids, yo. I dodged a bullet. A majority of the guys that I have had crushes on or some type of infatuation with, they definitely have children now, maybe even multiple. So that's wild. But I think that one of the things was, when I got into my relationship, I very much so was upset with myself because I didn't cheat. And I feel like I was cheating on my entire relationship, really looking back. And sometimes I would just be chilling on the couch, and I'd be like, this nigga was really cheating on me. Like, it was living in my house while doing it. So, yeah, that is my one regret, is not cheating. Because, like, there were so many fine men in my life. And I was being so faithful for no reason. But it's okay, you live, you learn. And so I think that after that, I just felt like I had a lot of catching up to do. So I want to say a month after I got out of my relationship, I really just wanted to put a sexual experience in between the one that I had with my ex, and like I needed a new one, because I felt like I knew he was fucking, you know what I'm saying, other people. And I felt like because he was my main body, I kept going back to him and having very unhealthy, very toxic, I'll leave it at that, unhealthy sexual situations with him. So I tried to explore with a new person. And now this is in the middle of the pandemic. Actually, the beginning of the pandemic. I broke up with my ex officially in February, and I got with this new guy from Bumble, from Hinge, from Bumble, in March. So that was really fast, but I don't think that we met up until April, maybe late March. So, I was just, and then the experience that I had with him, again, like I was only used to having sex with my partner, right? So I don't think that I asked him, did I ask him to get tested? I don't think that I asked him to get tested, but I remember that when I met him, he was about like 5'7", so shorter than me. And he was really cute in person, but again, I say like, then I saw him again in the daylight, and I was like, still a cute guy, but just not what I remembered from when I first met. I don't even know. Maybe as time goes on, my vision just changes of people. Like, I don't know. Maybe they don't physically change themselves. Anyways, I still have that to say. When we had sex, first of all, a couple of red flags. One, he was watching TV. Kill Bill was on. He was watching that. He said it was his favorite movie. Never put your favorite movie on when you're having sex. Just don't do that. Two, was that he was very much so trying to show me that like he knew shit, right? So I did have a pretty exciting experience. Like, I don't remember if he gave me head. I wonder if I gave him head. Wow, I really do miss giving head, by the way. But I remember he picked me up and he brought me over to his mirror, and then he had me like watch him like fuck me, and I was like, oh, I was like, whoa. But I'm really tall and my legs are really long, right? So it was just like a really interesting like thing to watch this like 5'7" guy pick me up, and then like, wow, okay. And why do I feel like he like lifted me? No, I swear he did some shit. Like he like lifted me up or something. We ended up back in the bed, and it was crazy because I had actually went over to his house once before we had sex, and I thought we were supposed to have sex, and then he fell asleep. Why did I leave? Oh, I was in my head. I was super in my head. And I was like, oh, like maybe he doesn't want me to spend the night, this, that, and third. But Shorty fell asleep. And I'm like, did he fall asleep because he didn't want me to be there? Because it's just mind games that these guys play. So I got up and I left the first time. So second time we had sex in the daylight. And then I had to fucking leave again to go have a photo shoot with my friend. Like, girl, plan this shit out. Like, plan it out. You're a Virgo. Like, what are you doing? So that was the beginning of my whole phase. And then the next one was my polyamorous relationship that I didn't know that I was gonna be in. Again, like, love that girl. I feel like she taught me so much. I feel like she had a really beautiful soul, but a lot came with that I wasn't expecting. And I was left with a lot of trauma. And then I had also had a simultaneous amount of other pieces of trauma happening in my life. So it was just a very much so big overwhelm in general. And then after that, I had because that was 2021. Damn, why is 2020 such a blur? 2020 is such a blur. Did I move? Okay, whatever. I say all that to say that a majority of these experiences that you've heard in the last 18 episodes have happened during my hoe phase. And I think that had my self-esteem been a lot higher, these experiences could have been very much so more pleasurable for me. One of the things that I think made my whole phase feel so toxic was the fact that I was meeting these people online. And I feel like when you meet people online, you can definitely meet their representative. I was sitting in my room the other day thinking, wow, like I really used to meet men online and have them come over to my house. I still have not told y'all about the time that the guy came to my house with a gun. That shit sounds as crazy as it was, right? He didn't come with it to shoot me, I don't think. Or maybe he did, and I just ended up being like a really nice person. I don't fucking know. But regardless, like, it was a lot. So little situations like that just make you feel like, damn, I was really wildin'. Then, like, you meet a lot of sociopaths on dating apps. So I realized that a majority of my block list right now is packed with people that I met on these dating apps. And so that's one of the things, whenever I want to join a dating app again, I'm like, I can't join it because my block list. Like, just always think about the block list. Always think about the lunatics that you have let into your life and let into your space and your orb. So I think that was one of the toxic parts about my love life. I think that had I met people in person during my whole phase, it probably would have felt a little bit more spontaneous as opposed to going on a dating app. It felt like my whole phase was so planned and forced and like contrived, if that made sense. I went on there looking for friends with benefits, looking for fuck buddies. I wasn't even looking for relationships, although my best friends with benefits ended up being something that I wanted to be a relationship, and then that kind of fucked it up. That actually is not what fucked it up, but it just added some complication to it. Another part of my hoe phase that I think opened my eyes to people's sexual responsibility or lack thereof was when I was having a conversation with my friend one time about how I felt like my hoe phase just wasn't picking up. I just always felt like God didn't want me to be a hoe, because why am I trying so hard to rack up my bodies? And at the tender age of 28, I only have had sex with 7 people. Hold on, let me count it out. 7 people. I've only had sex with 7 men and 2 women. So I differentiate that because I feel like men, it's penetrative. You all already know I have a problem with that word. Penetrative sex. And then with women, it was oral sex. But it was still intimate experiences. So I still count them as sexual experiences, but I'll be specific when I say the amount of men that I have had sex with were 7. Also, just to elaborate on this or to clarify, women are people. So I just want to make sure that it's very clear that when I say, oh, I've only had sex with 7 people, but 2 women, like, no, women are absolutely people. So let's just clarify that. But they're just 2 totally different experiences for me sexually. And even when I said, like, oh, yeah, I only had penetration with men, no, that's not true. Like, I was penetrated with fingers, and I was penetrated with a strap-on at one point. So yeah, I think that, I guess maybe I should just be really specific and say penetrated with a human peen. I guess that's more specific. But yeah, because I do not want to start the narrative that sex with women does not count. Like, sex with women is actually amazing, and to me has counted more in my life than my heterosexual experiences that I've had with men or cis men. I mean, I've only had sex with cis men thus far, unfortunately. Should I spend my episode talking about how much I love bisexual men? No, let's do it a different time. But I still have to say that, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I clarified that about women and my sexual partners. So technically you can say that I had 9 sexual partners as a whole. I've had sex with 7 men and 2 women. So yeah, I just felt weird being like, I had sex with only 7 people and 2 women. Like, women are people. And I had to listen back to it. Like, I caught myself, and I appreciate that about my podcast. I feel like I can do that. I can catch myself. I can be human and learn as I speak, like how things sound. I feel like people should actually have podcasts so they can hear how they sound when they speak. But yeah, and that's very interesting to me that I even differentiated the 2, considering that, like I said, if I was to highlight my sexual experiences, it would be at least one of the times that I had sex with a woman supersedes all of the times that I've had sex with men. Seriously, genuinely. So yeah, I think that's very interesting. But like I said, I caught myself, and I just wanted to keep that in the podcast so that I could show y'all how growth works in the moment with an ever-evolving Virgo. Anyways, back to the story. So for me to have had this really like major exploration phase and only really doubled up on a couple of those bodies, like meaning I've only really had multiple sex with maybe, damn. Is my pussy whack? Like, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not. It's great. But, like, why do I not double up with these people? I think because the experience is traumatic. It's not just them. It'd be me, too. Like, the time that I had sex with a guy and his penis was too big, and then he literally used 3 fingers and was like, I'm going to try to open you up. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. But no, so I realized that it's a mutual thing sometimes. Like, there is that one guy, though. You already know who I'm talking. The married guy from the Marines. He was great. But no, I think the real reason why it didn't work out with a lot of these people and why I didn't have sex with them multiple times is because, one, I really do require a certain amount of intimacy, a lot of intimacy, when it comes to my sexual experiences. And it wasn't until I learned that I was a demisexual to where I was able to put a name to it, and that made my heart feel really at peace, because I felt like I was bugging for wanting to connect with people that I was physically giving my body to. They've made me feel like I was bugging for wanting to connect with them because they were so utterly disconnected. Or even the ones that were able to connect during sex, but then after sex, there was no more connection. It's like, it was just like they were playing a role. So I think the reason why I got so stuck on the guy from the Marines, or why I keep mentioning him, or wherever he was from, the Navy, I don't know. But the reason why I got so stuck on him was because our experience before we had sex, we had literally been with each other from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. before we even had, like, kissed. The sun was literally coming up like as we kissed, and I think that that's why that was so like magical for me. But he also was willing to have sex with me without a condom. He was just gonna go straight and raw because I told him, as you know, that I had been really on it when it came to like STDs and STI prevention and just my awareness of it. So he just assumed that I didn't have an STD or an STI. Don't make assumptions, because then you'll make an ass out of me and you, but mostly you. So I think that that's one of the reasons why it didn't work out between us. I think that also I didn't know what to do next. Like I didn't know, he claimed that he got so busy because he was working through family stuff, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he had a whole wife. So I know I made a joke about how my pussy was whack, but no, I actually have the best pussy in the world. Jasmine Sullivan made a song called BPW, Best Pussy in the World. She wrote that about me. My pussy is golden. Rainbows shoot out of it. So even with my other partners, I really think that it was the universe shielding me from things that could have been a lot worse, like gunman. Happy that I stopped having sex with him. Like that didn't need to happen, which is also 3-finger man in my vagina. Like that didn't need to happen either. So yeah, I think that God and the universe was really protecting me from some trauma, but it was just crazy how I really was actively on this mission to be a hoe. And you know, the sexual health thing, like I mentioned before, my friend literally told me, like, Atiya, you can't be a hoe and ask people for their STD results. I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. I feel like anytime you are having sex, you have the right to ask somebody what their status is or go get tested with this person. Even people that actively work in the sex industry are some of the most aware people in regards to their sexual health. Like they are really on it when it comes to getting tested. So I don't think that it's fair for us to criticize ourselves when we want to know about somebody's sexual status. I don't think that that's a violation. I think that it's helpful, especially considering the statistics of how many people have certain things and certain STDs and certain STIs. And I want to do a whole episode about STDs and STIs and prevention and awareness and the taboo surrounding it and how to feel comfortable with yourself if you have one, et cetera, et cetera. I'd love to have somebody on the show that has actually either experienced an STI or STD or currently has one, like herpes, to where they're able to share their experience and break some of the shame and stigma surrounding that. But I do think that it's important to just be safe. So that definitely put a major halt in my hoe phase. And I also think that my hoe phase was toxic because I was trying to fill a void. I was literally trying to be distracted. I was still hurting from my past relationship. There were a lot of things that I didn't heal from that. I told y'all in the last episode about the guy when I told him that I was in an abusive relationship, and he was like, I could tell. That's not something that you should say to somebody. So, and I also met that person on an app. So I'm saying, like, as much as I was a bright light on these dating apps, I 10 out of 10 do not recommend it, especially if you're trying to find yourself sexually, because people can be whoever they want to be and put on this facade for as long as they can until they get what they want, and then they go. They get some head, they didn't get no bread. They might have got some actual bread, because I do have bread in my house a lot of the times, but then they leave, you know? So I think that my most healthy experience in my hoe phase was when I had sober sex. And that's when I had my first orgasm from penetration. And that was really like a highlightable experience that I always talk to y'all about. But otherwise, I mean, I learned a lot of what not to do. I learned that even with the Marine, like I don't want to be with somebody who, when I tell you that it hurts, you say for me to take it. No, I don't want that. And so it's just like situations like that started piling more and more and more and more and more on top of my trauma. And the worse my life got, the more sexual situations I was in that I feel like traumatized me even more and just kept adding to it. And I kept trying to replace these other situations by giving myself more positive situations, and it just wasn't working itself out. So yeah, and I think that my celibacy, although it did come from me wilding, and I'm going to get to the story about me having sex with 2 guys in a week, I think that my celibacy really also came from the people that I did find myself attracted to, because that ended up being hard. Like, I would go on these apps, but I wouldn't end up seeing anybody else that I was attracted to. My variation of what I liked started changing so rapidly, and I couldn't really keep up. But I remember I did meet somebody that I really liked, and he was like religious, and I think I shared a little bit about him before, but he he claimed that he was so gung-ho about getting tested, would have asked me to get tested and this, that, and the third, but it's what is it, July at this point, and he still has not gotten tested. And I started talking to him about getting tested last, I want to say, May or June. So my point is, people can also say that they care this much about their sexual health, this, that, and the third, but he still invited me over to his house at one night when we were both horny, and I was like, did you get tested yet? Like, why is that, what's not clicking, Steven? And his name wasn't Steven, but what's not clicking? So I think that when I started seeing how adverse people were to getting tested, or how slow they were at getting tested, when they would make the time to have the sex, but they wouldn't make the time to get tested, that was a turn off. And then more and more things just started turning me off. Like when I realized I was demisexual and people were scared of intimacy, that was a turn off. To be I was no longer attracted to men who didn't have a gleam in their eye. You know that sociopathic look that people have? It's not like a real gleam, it's like a false gleam. I was no longer attracted to that. But I do think that because a lot of my situations had stemmed from relationships with sociopaths or with people with sociopathic tendencies, I think that I felt safe in my uncomfortability with them, which is going to lead me to my story about having sex with 2 people in 1 week. So before I get into this story, in conclusion, do I think that people should have a sexual exploration experience in their lives? So I feel like people should have like a decade, a moment of sexual liberation and finding what you like and what you don't like with partners. Yes, I do think that everybody deserves to explore themselves sexually in whatever way that you think that should happen. Do I think that you should do that very consciously and thoughtfully? Absolutely. Do I think that you should do it spontaneously? Sometimes, if you can do it safely. It is so hard to have spontaneous, safe sex because, one, like I said, getting tested, that is big for me. Like, if everybody was on it with getting tested every 3 months, which you're supposed to, then great. I would love that. I would be having so much spontaneous sex. If people didn't have multiple sexual partners, which is ironic, I know, coming from the girl that's about to tell the experience about having sex with 2 men in 1 week, but we'll get to that. If people didn't have multiple sexual partners, and if they did have multiple sexual partners who were all on it, because that's the thing, like, you can have somebody and they have somebody, right? Say that I'm poly, and then I have a boyfriend and he's poly, and then he has me and another girl in his life, but she's poly, and she has my boyfriend and then another girl in her life, and my boyfriend and his poly girlfriend and me, we're all on it with testing, but the poly girlfriend and her girlfriend's not into it with testing, and who knows what her girlfriend's out there doing. So it's like such a long line of just complicatedness when it comes to having multiple partners. And then let's not even talk about like the pH balance getting thrown off. Like, that's a thing. So even when it comes to that, like, if my pH balance would stay on track without having multiple sexual partners, like, and me being able to explore myself sexually in that way, then yeah, that would be great. But there's just a lot that happens. I think that energetically you can exchange a lot with people when you have sex. If you believe in that, then that's where I'm at. If you don't believe in that, then that's where you're at, and that's okay. But I believe that there is an energy exchange that happens. So I was having sex with so many low vibrational people, just trying to make some kind of connection, but I wasn't even connected with myself. So now it's 2 low vibrational people. I mean, I was at a medium vibration. I would like to say I was at a medium vibration, but I was low. 2 low vibrational people having sex with each other equals trauma. You know, like, it just equals trauma. And there are people out there who say, oh, I don't mind having sex with somebody and not having a connection with them. Do I personally feel like that can stem from certain trauma that you've had in your past? Maybe abandonment issues, or issues with emotional connection, or attachment style issues, or detachment issues? Yes, I do think that can stem from that. Are there people in life who can genuinely just want to have sex? Yes, there are. I'm not the type of person that can do that because I need the connection to get off. Penetration just doesn't do it for me. But if I'm being penetrated by somebody who I think really loves and cares about me, that is really, really amazing. You don't even have to love me. Let me think about that for a second. Okay, I do want you to love me. But I know that that's a difficult thing. I'm easy to love, right? And I spent a long time feeling like I was not easy to love. But I do feel like when you are in a new situation with somebody, I can't expect them to be in love with me, even after we get tested. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to build up to that. But caring about me and respecting me feels just as good as loving me. So if I can find a partner who cared about my body and loved my body, like, I felt like the person that I had sober sex with, I was able to have sober sex with them because I felt like they cared about me and I felt like they respected me. They got tested before we had sex. Like, we had conversations before we had sex. We had conversations after we had sex. We would cuddle after we had sex. And so healthy situations like that, I think, help put a good taste in my mouth when it comes to sex. But again, I think because I was dealing with so much trauma during my whole phase, and then I wasn't giving myself time to recover from it, and I had gaps in my whole phase, but I was so focused on finding somebody else that I didn't take the time to like heal from the last situation, because I was focused on either trying to get that person back or go towards somebody else or distract myself with dating, just being on dating apps in general and going on these random ass dates, wasting my time. Like, all of that can really take a toll on one's experience. And you know, if it's one thing that I learned about life, is that a lot of people can put out this facade of what they're doing and act like they're having a great time and act like they just love the life that they live. So I knew a lot of my friends were having these hoe phases and were so promiscuous and were just having so much fun. And then later on you listen to their stories and you're like, this doesn't sound like fun for me. And I don't even know if this sounds like fun for you. Maybe it was fun for you, but this is not fun for me. So I think that that's when I really started learning about comparing my experiences with other people. I think that I learned that people can put out this facade, or maybe they really are enjoying what the fuck that they're doing. But if you have hoe friends, you don't know what kind of self-work they need to do. You don't know what kind of requirements they have or don't have. And you don't have to make your standard be their standard. So that's my suggestion when it comes to finding yourself in your hodom and in your self-exploration phase. And I guess because I'm a millennial, I use the phrase hoe phase, but it really is just sexual exploration. And you can sexually explore yourself while being celibate. I feel like I'm still having my sexual exploration phase. And although I took a break from my hoe phase, and again, like, it's not really necessarily hoe, because I think that there are so many different definitions to being a hoe. Some people think that you're a hoe if you have multiple partners. Some people think you're a hoe if you have sex with more than one person in your entire life. Like, some people think you're a hoe if you make money when you have sex. I definitely wasn't making no money. So if that's the case, I definitely didn't have a hoe phase at all. I wish I had a hoe phase with money. Shit, it would have made it all fucking worth it. Not all of it, but it would have made some of it worth it, you know? At least a meal. Jesus Christ. But that's my advice on having a hoe phase. You know, like, I just don't want, I don't want to prevent you from losing yourself, because when I lost myself, it really forced me to take a pause and find myself. But I do hope to be that voice that stops you before you even lose yourself. I don't think that you necessarily have to lose yourself to find yourself again through trauma. You know, I think that you can shed that skin without making some of the choices that I made, to where it's taking me a long time to regain these certain things. Even my sexual confidence, because these people didn't know how to take care of my emotions, there are some wounds that I'm still healing. So I know I can't stop you from making decisions. I know I can't stop you from making mistakes, you know, and I know that I learned from my mistakes, and I learned from my hoe phase, and I learned from my sexual exploration. And in this celibacy, I'm really able to observe now things that I wasn't able to observe about my hoe phase before, because like I said, I took the pause and I'm not actively looking. I'm not actively on a dating app trying to find somebody. So yeah, even when I go out, I have PTSD from like looking for a relationship now, because I'm like, this is what I used to do. Like, I used to go out and look for people to like love me. And so now I'm like going out and being like, it's okay if I just exist here and have a good time and just, yeah, like, I don't know. I've said like a lot, and I'm catching that. So in my next story, I will not be saying like as much as I have, but I just wanted to share that because I feel like, again, a lot of my hoe friends really made having a hoe phase sound really fun. And even one of my latest hoe friends back in the day, she was having really unsafe sex, and sure, do that, but the anxiety that I got after I had sex with that polyamorous woman, not the first one, the second woman that I had sex with, the anxiety that I got when I realized the backstory to her sexual history and like how many people she was having sexual experiences with through her other sexual partners, how many people her sexual partners were having sex with. The anxiety I felt when I was getting my STD test is an anxiety that I never want to feel. And some people don't have that. I do. I told y'all that I was in a program that taught me about STDs and STIs, so I know. So yeah, it's just something that I don't want to have to necessarily juggle with in my life, and I think that that's okay. And again, not to perpetuate shame and stigma, but I just wanted to be able to be in a healthy space with myself. And I think that all the energies and all of the anxieties that I got from having multiple sexual partners and having partners who had multiple sexual partners was just bringing me stress. So why keep forcing it when the universe literally is removing and hiding these people from my life because they are not my people? So this is the most peaceful I felt. Yes, I miss intimacy so much. I want to cuddle. Even when I talk about my partner that I had with sober sex, I can't lie, I do miss him. I do wish that could have turned into something else, but I also believe in divine order, and I believe that if we were supposed to be something, we would have been something. It wasn't meant to be. He wasn't my person, but he was in my life to teach me that. And as much as these situations are so temporary in my life, I learned a hell of a lot of them. And I'm grateful because I've been in situations like the one that I was in with my relationship, to where we were in it for 3 fucking years. And I learned a lot from that, but I also learned, I want to say, just as much in these situationships and in these sneaky links and in these friends of benefits and in these, like I said, situationships that I was having with these guys and women. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Don't necessarily recommend taking the route that I took in the whole phase, but I do recommend giving yourself permission to explore when it feels right, when it feels healthy, when you feel healthy. And I also use that as a meter. Like, there's this one guy that I always want to reach out to when I'm feeling unhealthy, which reminds me, I've always had toxic Sagittarius in my life, right? So there was this one guy that I knew when I was in the 4th grade, and I had such a crush on him. I thought that he was my soulmate. We fell out of touch, got back in touch when I was around 13, I want to say. Ended up spending like every summer together, had an amazing time. There's even more history to it, but if I say certain things, you're going to know who it is. All right, so I think I told y'all about this in another episode. When I started my exploration and really being vocal about sex online, he reached out to me shortly after my grandma passed away when I was in New York and was like, I want to have sex. My shorty actually texted me like in March, and I was so proud of myself because old iloveatiya would have definitely texted him and been like, hey, what's up with Link, blah, blah, blah. New vibrations? No. Like that really genuinely hurt my feelings because it felt like you don't even look at me as a person anymore. You just think of me as a body that you want to conquer. Where was this energy when I wanted to be conquered? I don't want to be conquered anymore. So I think that turn off, like back in the day when my vibration was different, then yeah. Now, if I was to be pursued in a healthy way, if he was to say, I want to provide this romantic experience with you to try to help you reverse some of the sexual experiences that you've had before that have caused you trauma, now you might be able to get this pussy. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to get this pussy. You might be able to tap it, rub on it, sniff it, lick it, poke it. But otherwise, yeah, I want to have sex. That's not how you're gonna get in my panties. But speaking of panties, I guess it's time for us to talk about my final exhibition that happened with my hoe phase and what transpired within this 1 week and how we got to where we were and how we got to the celibacy, because this was like the icing on the cake. The lesbian one was actually the icing on the cake, but you know what I'm saying, with men. All right, y'all, I've been procrastinating telling y'all this story for the longest because I don't like to have shame surrounding my sexual experiences, especially considering the fact that I literally know that I had been going through it from January 2018 to April 2023. I didn't start making good decisions for real until I moved out abroad and like got out of the American funk. But it was very hard for me to share this episode with you because when I first planned on sharing it with you, it was gonna be like, la 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 la, fun. Oh, I had sex with the boy, and then I had sex with another one a week later. And then so I tried to talk to you guys about this, I want to say 3 months ago. And while recording that video, I realized that the first sexual experience that I had, so say that I had sex January 1st, and then say that I had sex again January 7th, right? And this was in 2022. So the first instance that I was sharing with you all, as I'm sharing it, I'm like, this was fucking coercion. Coercion is sexual assault. I was sexually assaulted. This was not a consented experience. And that made it very hard for me to share this story in the positive light that I originally wanted to share it in, because with a sober mind, because I was extremely drunk. And just to give you some idea of the kind of drunk that I was, when I did convince myself that I was okay, quotes, with doing this act, right? And again, we're gonna get there one day with sharing this story. I want to talk to my therapist about it first. But when I convinced myself in my mind, through my drunken fucking stupor, that I was okay with doing this, I literally remember not much, which is the scary part about it. I don't remember much about it. And that was the other scary part about recollecting some of the things. I was like, why do I not remember a lot of this? That's very scary to me. I understand that I disassociate throughout a lot of my sexual experiences, but this was one of them that seems like it was a lot more added to it besides just disassociation. Because I still remember certain things from my disassociation and my other sexual experiences. But I remember I got on top because at one point it was so unenjoyable. Not even at one point, from beginning to end, it was so unenjoyable. And there was such a lack of me wanting to do it, such a lack of connection, that I got on top because I said, well, the least I can do is like learn from this experience, right? Such a fucking drunk thought. Like there's no should-haves in my life, but I do wish now, looking back on it, that I would have stopped. Just stopped in the middle of it, but I was scared, so I didn't. So I got on top, and then I blacked out. And when I say I blacked out, I mean, like, I think I fell asleep. Which could also translate into being unconscious. Like, why was I unconscious at a moment during sex? Please, like, make it make sense, because it still does not make sense to me. And it's something that, like I said, I used to say, oh yeah, I fell asleep. But no, there was like a long moment of unconsciousness and then coming back to consciousness. Like, and again, a lot to unpack during therapy. That's not something that happens during normal sex. That's not something that happens during like regular drunk sex. That's something that makes me feel very uncomfortable. So, and the person that I had sex with was not someone that I originally ever wanted to have sex with. They were somebody who I felt like didn't take care of their sexual health, which it was like a known thing. They had a child, which was not like the biggest red flag for me, but it wasn't something that I was very much so interested in. And then there was just a lot of other things that accumulated to getting to this point of just, this person was not my person. And I think the part that makes me even sadder about this is that I consider this person to be a quote unquote friend. And so I had sex with that person, again, unconsensually, looking back on it and realizing that it was very much so a coerced experience. The person that I actually wanted to have sex with for a while now, somebody that I had a crush on for a while, ended up reaching out to me. I want to say 2 days after I had the regrettable sex. And I could tell I was going through it because I looked back at certain videos from that time of my life and saw how my wig was placed on my head and said, that's a girl who's going through it. That's a girl who needs some loving in her life, like some help, like some self-love, like some love from the inside. So this person reached out to me, the person that I really wanted to be intimate with, and said, hey, I'm in your city, like, let's link up. So I'm like, okay, life's crumbling. What do I have to lose? So let's link up. So I ended up linking up with this person, and I just felt like I needed a positive experience after experiencing whatever the fuck that was earlier that week. What makes me so sad is, had I known that I was going to have this sexual experience with somebody that I actually wanted, I don't even think that I would have been in the predicament in the first place to be with that original person, because it literally was coercion from beginning to end. Even to get me to hang out with them was coercion based on an experience that we were supposed to have outside of the house. We were supposed to go to a concert. He was literally supposed to buy me a ticket to go to a concert, and then that concert ended up getting canceled. He was like, well, if you don't still want to see me. Anyways, we're going to get back to the positive shit, because I feel like I just want to make sure that I'm ready to talk about that other experience in its fullness. But I just know that on social media, I talk a lot about, being sexually assaulted by a friend. And so this was that said experience, but it wasn't, because there was another experience with them that, again, I will talk about in the future. All right, y'all, let's get to better shit, the better part of this story. So after I had this traumatic experience, I then saw the guy that I really liked, and we're going to call him, oh God, please help me come up with the name. We're going to call him Footsies. You will know why in a second. Me and Footsies have actually known each other since, I want to say the fourth grade. Probably around the fourth and the fifth grade, right? Okay, so I think that I've had a crush on him for a while, honestly. I knew that there was a time we had a girlfriend, so I didn't pursue anything, but we used to be in each other's DMs, just like chatting, regular shit. Like, it was nothing crazy, nothing super, super flirtatious. But he ended up inviting me to his hotel. And so I get to his hotel, and I had on my bad wig. I had on a bandana. Y'all, it was a lot. It was just know that this is when, like, my grandma was in the midst of her dementia, and it was getting really bad. And I think she had COVID. She might have even been at the hospital at this time. So and then I was recovering from the year before that. It was a lot. Like, if you listen to the podcast, you know that those years were just not good years for me. So I ended up meeting him at the hotel, and while we're going up to the hotel room, he says something. Oh God, this happened so long ago. I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. All right, I'm gonna skip this part because I don't know if that's really true or not. So we're gonna skip that part. But I know that I get to the hotel room and it's set up, y'all. If you watch the podcast Horrible Decisions, you know that when a guy has galaxy lights set up in the room, it's about to go down. Like, we are about to have an amazing night. I'm about to feel like I'm in space, okay? So if you don't know what galaxy lights are, it's these like really bright, colorful lights that shine on the fucking wall and like project. He had a candle lit, like the TV on, bed made up, whatever. Like, it was smooth, okay? We get to the room, he got 2 beds. And I'm like, The part that I said I don't know if I'm recollecting this correctly, is I can't remember if he told me. I think he told me, this is what happened. He told me that his friend was staying with him, but he used a different name for his friend than the name that I knew his friend of being, right? Stick with me. If you watch episode 3 or 2, then you'll know the reference that I'm about to tell y'all about. So we go outside, he rolls up, we're on his balcony, we're smoking. While we're on the topic of plant medicine, I just want to give a shout out to Heaven High NYC. If you love plant medicine, great. No, I'm telling y'all, the best weed that I have ever smoked in my whole entire life. And other forms of plant medicine, you can head to heavenhighnyc.com. And when you place your order, be sure to mention that you heard about them from the Lmk podcast. And you will get a special, should I say gift? You should get something special with your order. So make sure that you mention me. Also, I have this earring in my ear. It's called the double single, and a lot of people have been complimenting me on it. So it goes into your top hole, right? And then it's a chain connected with some other like decorative items, sometimes crystals, sometimes stones, beads, whatever the case may be. And then it goes down to my bottom ear hole. Go on my Instagram and see. But everybody's been asking me about it, so I figured I would just not gatekeep and let y'all know that I got it from imanijewelry.com. You can use the code Loveatiya to get 10% off of your order, which is absolutely amazing. But I love it because it's Black owned. They use natural crystals and stones. Everything is handmade by one person. An entire collection of jewelry is made by hand by one person. And you can feel the love. You can feel the healing. I feel so different and way more confident when I wear my jewelry. I get compliments nonstop, whether it be in real life or on social media. So if you want compliments, head to imanijewelry.com and use my code. And if you are interested in getting some extra pleasure tips as you get on this podcast, then you can head to loveatiya.com/sign up and sign up for my free pleasure email blast that I send out once a month. And check out my archives if you're already signed up, because my archives views are hella low. Like, what y'all looking? Y'all not looking at them? Can you look at them, please? So check out my archives where I have some previous posts about pleasure and some previous tips so that I can dive deeper in my newer email blast. Now, back to the story. Things are chill, you know, like real smooth. This is the first time I ever really got to know him. So we're talking about his childhood and certain things, like certain like excellent things that he had been up to and like things that I just didn't know about him. So it was cool to be there in real life, but at the same time, I just felt like it was kind of a dream. You know when you're with somebody and you've had a crush on them for so long and it doesn't feel real? That's how it felt. So we ended up going back inside, high as fuck. Oh, and I remember he paid for my parking and it was $25. And I was like, oh my God, you're literally Daddy Warbucks. Like, splurge with me, Daddy. So that was big because, you know, I'm used to the bare minimum at this point was golden to me. So I appreciated the bare minimum. But to me, $25 was not the bare minimum because I'm not paying $25 for nobody's parking. But it's Atlanta. So he paid for that. And then we ended up laying down, cuddling. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that he asked me for consent to cuddle, which is, again, like 10 out of fucking 10. I wish that people understood how much consent can look so many different ways, right? But it doesn't. Enthusiastic consent is me saying, hell yeah, let's do it. Oh, let's do it. Yes, abso-fucking-lutely. But if I give you like a sure, or why not, or fuck it, like that's not it. That's not it. That's not the consent that you want to receive. And for someone asking for consent, pulling out your dick and trying to stick it inside of me is not consent. But doing as Footsies did and literally asking me, like, you want to cuddle? Shit like that. Or even somebody saying, like, are you comfortable with? That is the way you can ask for consent. Do you want to? Are you comfortable with? Can I? Those are some ways that you can ask for consent. And we can have a portion of an episode where we talk about consent on a deeper topic. But yeah, maybe we'll do it on our next episode, because I want episode 20 to be a big one. But back to the story. Like I said, the candles lit, the galaxy lights are on, and he put on this movie. What's crazy is that the movie that we watched is actually really, really, really good. But there was this one scene with this brutal domestic violence. And if you watched my last episode, you already know I've been through it. So that was really triggering for me. And so I remember disassociating a bit in that moment. And I never even told him about it, which is I'm proud of myself for, I will say, because old me would have definitely, I don't want to say trauma dumped, but overshared. And I don't think that it's really everybody's business. If you come to my podcast and listen to my story, then great. You know, like, no problem at all, because I'm willingly sharing this with you. But I made that be like the intro to me telling guys this, because I thought that if I told them, I would feel safe. If I said that I didn't feel safe in this relationship prior, you'll make me feel safe now. And I realized that that's not the case at all. Sometimes they'll even take that and use it against you. So I didn't share with him. I just dissociated through it. And I remember he started like caressing my body, caressing my skin. And then he started doing this thing on my stomach. And I had never had somebody like play with my stomach before, but he literally was like pinching, like playing with my like I don't even have, well, now I got a little bit of a roll, but he was doing something with my stomach. And I have a problem with like repetitive movements, which is why I don't care for penetrative sex. But, I said it right. But he was doing that and I was just happy to be touched. So it was cool. It felt like a loving touch, but I just remember getting like a little bit like over sensory, if that makes like sensory overload. But at one point, I don't remember when we started kissing. I do not remember that. I don't remember that at all. Wow. But I do remember, wow, see, this is what makes me so sad about not having sober sex, because although I wasn't drunk and I didn't drink, I was high, and then was still disassociating from the movie. So I feel like I wasn't fully in my body. I remember I got on top of him and was going to jerk. What was I doing? Was I jerking him off? Was I giving it? I don't remember giving him head. I have not given head in a really long time. If I gave you head, DM me and let me know if I gave you head. Because if you listen to this, then you know who you are, I think. But did I give you head? I feel like I would have remembered that, though. I really missed the taste of, like, dick. I know that's really weird to say, but I do. Like, and it's good smelling dick, though. And then I'm like, did he give me head? I think he did give me head. I think he did. Oh, I'm so mad I can't remember. What I do remember is at one point, yeah. What was he doing? Why can I not? so at one point I know he was doing nipple play, and normally, once again, like overstimulation fucks me up, but he knew. I have actual goosebumps. He knew what the fuck he was doing with my nipples. Like, oh my God, he knew exactly what he was doing. So, flashback, then at one point, he was doing something with my nipples, and then he did something with my feet. Y'all, he did something with my feet. This is the first time, like, my ex and I used to, we, sucked each other's toes, but it wasn't, like, I don't know, like, my ex, I don't really care for his toes, but this guy, he was, like, doing some reflexology shit, and was, like, doing some shit, like, with pressure points in my foot that made my body fucking, like, convulse. Like, it was uncontrollable. Wherever you learn that, keep doing that. If you're a guy who listens to this fucking podcast, look up reflexology. Right now. At the end of this episode, I'll read up on some stuff about, like, pressure points and toes and feet and shit like that. But, yo, I still have this is the longest my goosebumps ever last because it was so amazing. I remember having sex with him slightly. I don't remember the whole thing very clearly. And I remember it being a fairly pleasurable experience. I didn't orgasm. I probably said I did, but I didn't. But it was just a great experience, especially compared to having had just been assaulted earlier that fucking week. So I think that was just like put a better taste in my mouth in regards to, no pun intended, in regards to sex. Oh, and I turned on my sex playlist. I remember, I think he was like fingering me while I turned on the sex playlist or something like that. And he got a condom. And I don't even think that I had to ask him to get the condom. Like, I think he just straight up got the condom. And that to me is always a great sign. Like, thank you, my brother. Thank you for getting the condom without having me have to ask. Because otherwise, that can be a problem. So that just definitely takes me out the moment. Because like, how many people are you fucking? Like, wrong like that. So yeah, that was cool. I appreciated his care about that. I think that he did a lot of like talking to me during the sex. He has like a really sexy voice. So I remember him and he had a New York accent. If you want to make my pussy quiver, you gotta talk like you're from the river, New York, New York. Woo! It was amazing. It was amazing. I love New York accents on people in general. So that was great. I felt like I was like fucking 50 Cent. And I'm playing. It didn't feel like that. But yeah, it was a great experience. And then, another thing is that I think I asked him not to come inside of me. Now, I've asked people this before, even when they have condoms on. And I've told them, condoms are not they're not fully effective. So I don't want you to come inside of me because if there's a fucking hole, I don't want to take a plan B. I just don't want to be pregnant. I mean, I just don't want to have to even go down that route, right? But there have been people, and this is back in my whole phase, where I've said, pull out when you're about to come, even though you have a condom on, and they didn't pull out. And that just made me feel so violated. Like, your nut was more important than my peace of mind, which is how I knew I never needed to have sex with these people again, which is why, once again, I didn't double up on the bodies. But with him, I am 90% sure that he actually pulled out when he was about to come. And that made me feel really, 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 really good. Because I felt like I was cared about, if I'm recollecting this correctly. Because I don't remember there being like trauma surrounding this situation until after we had sex. And then that's where the shit got crazy. So, all right, we had sex. Everything's cool. We're cuddling. It's aftercare. Took care of ourselves in the bathroom. Wiped up a little one too. You know what I'm saying? It was cool. It was great. Cuddling. Everything's chill. I felt safe, which is something that's rare for me. Y'all, why like 15 minutes after we had sex does his fucking friend come in the room? Guess who his friend was? His friend was fucking Panda. And if you listened, like I said, to episode either 2 or 3, you already know that me and Panda fucked around when I was a virgin back in like I don't even know. I was like 21, I think. But he was the one that we only talked for like 7 months on and off. He wanted to have sex with other people because he said that not having sex made him angry. All this shit, right? Panda walks in the fucking room. And then 2 and 2 gets put together like, oh my God, the name that he said is the other name that Panda goes by. I didn't even realize that they knew each other like that. Come to find out, they know each other. Like, I mean, obviously they know each other to have like a whole like hotel room together, but they like know each other for real. So I'm laying there, and then he walks in, and and it's awkward as fuck, right? So I look up and I'm like, "Hey, Panda," because he wasn't gonna speak. So I'm like, "Hey, Panda," and he's like, "Hey, Atiya." And then Footsies is like, "Y'all know each other?" Yo, it was like a scene out of a movie that I hate the most. Like the movie that I hate the most, it was a scene out of that movie. So he's like, "Y'all know each other?" And I'm like, "Fuck, like, yeah." So I'm trying to think. I don't know at one point when I told him that like we used to fuck around with each other or whatever. But I know that Panda was acting weird as fuck. And then Footsies was rolling up, and we went outside and we all smoked. Why Panda gonna be out there talking about how's your mom? Nigga, how's my mom? She's good. He's like, yeah, she's out here with you. Yes. He's like, why? How long you been out here? I was like, 6 years. Like, why are you trying to make it seem like you know me in front of your friend that I just fucked? Like, why are you trying to make it seem like we have all this history? Like, yes, we had history in the past. You dogged me out. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for you, baby. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for you, boy. The most sick part about it is that fast forward after all this happened, he gonna DM me with a picture of us back when I was 21 years old and say, "This is the real you." I said, no, he did not. No, he did not just do that. First of all, you're grimy as fuck because your friend just hit. Now, granted, maybe let me not say hit because that makes me sound like an object, but maybe his friend never gave a fuck about me. Maybe it was just like a fucking good time. Am I sweating? I'm sorry. Talking about the feet made me sweat a little bit. But maybe your friend just wanted to have a good time, and that's fine. That's cool with me. But I just wanted to have more good times. That's what wasn't cool for me. Like I just wanted to have a little more sex. But it was the fact that you literally DM'd me on some shit like the real you. Nigga, this is me. This is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. Got your bend stick inside me. Like, that's who I am. This is me now. So that pissed me off. But let's go back to the hotel. So we smoke, go back inside. Shorty's walking around looking mad depressed now, Panda. Then me and Footsies go out to go cop. So I go drive, whatever, go to cop, come back, roll up again. While we walk back in the room, Panda listening to mad sad music from The Weeknd. Like, even when you're going crazy. Like, it wasn't that song, but it was some sad Weeknd song. And then I remember, because even Footsies was like, damn, nigga, like, you depressed? Like, you good? Like, you straight? And then I was laying in bed and fucking Footsies went to go use the bathroom. So I'm laying there like a fucking mummy. Like, cause then I needed a do-rag. Footsies gonna put his do-rag on and be like, oh, you can ask Panda. I don't want Panda's fucking do-rag. I'm good. I'll just wake up with a fucked up weave. Like, I can't. And that was the other thing, cause I kept asking, like, do you want me to spend the night? Should I leave? What should I do? I ended up spending the night. And honestly, thinking back on it, I probably should have went home. I probably should have went home at that time. But again, I just needed to feel safe. And I guess in that moment, I felt safe with Footsies. Definitely not with fucking Panda. But at one point, Panda got up in the middle of the night and went to go outside to smoke. And I took off my jacket because I was super hot. And at the time I was taking off my jacket, Panda was coming back into the room. And so Footsies woke up like mad, like fucking ready to like fucking, I don't even know, I feel like he literally was like this. Like, I feel like that's literally how he woke up. And so I like fucking flinched. I was like, what the fuck? You know me, I got fucking PTSD. Then you hear me moving fast like that around me. So he like did that. And then he said something like, y'all, like basically he thought that me and Panda had like been outside smoking or something. And I was like, oh no, I just got hot. Am I sweating? I'm sweating a little bit. But I was like, I just got hot. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, I think he just thought that we were fucking around, which made me sad because we definitely were not. Like, you don't have to worry about that shit. So tell me why that next morning we wake up and I think we started like kissing, making out, and then I like turned over to my side. why did this guy, Footsies, fuck me while Panda was in the other bed? I said, oh. You hear, but just considering how much Panda really violated me, it was just like, wow, this is not the karma that I ever thought that you would get that was unfacilitated by me. I ain't do shit but roll over, my guy. I just rolled over and got some dick. I am innocent bystander in this. So that was really, really, really crazy. Cause he had no regard for his friend and I had no regard. I didn't give a fuck. So that was that. And yeah, I think he walked me downstairs to my car and hugged and I was out. Whew, all right, but here's where the story gets a little bit depressing because once again, you know, I was going through it. I told y'all that my grandma was not doing the best and I was trying to seek love and solace in any place I could fucking get it. So I reached out to him while I was away and I was like, hey, you know, I'm coming to New York at some point, this, that, and the third. Like, I would love to have some fun with you again, whatever. Yo, I cannot remember. I should find the messages, but I can't remember what he said. But he low-key let me down easy. I don't even know what he said. Oh my God, yes, I do. He replied and he was like, yeah, you know, like, I really appreciate you. I appreciate your work ethic. I said, no, he did not just say he appreciates my work ethic. I just told you I wanted to fuck you again. And you said you appreciate my work ethic? This is not a business transaction. Like, put your dick in my mouth. So that's the only thing I remember, but I do remember that he rejected me. And in my mind, he probably just got back with his girlfriend because I think that was a thing that I just wasn't really all that privy to. So that was the end of that, really. I'm really grateful for him because, like I said, he was my last physical encounter with the guy, and I feel like I was able to end it on a positive note, even though it was a lot that came with it afterwards. I was grateful for being able to just have that experience to kind of like live out that fantasy of being able to be with my like crush, if that makes sense, or a guy that I had a crush on for a long time. But yeah, that was definitely one of my craziest sexual experiences because I feel like I learned so much and there was a lot of foreplay. I think that's why I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like he genuinely cared about my body. He was making eye contact with me, and I hate sex where you don't make eye contact, and he was playing with my feet and like the foot play. 10 out of 10 recommend. 10 out of 10 recommend. If you don't do foot play with your fuck feet, we're not gonna fuck anyone. No, I really need it. Like, we should take a course in feet play. We should do that. So, yeah, let's look up why foot play is so fucking good. How to orgasm with feet. Let's see. Like, they're gonna be like, what? Is it possible? Is it possible to have a footgasm? Oh, shit. Oh shit, somebody said, I got a foot massage and actually orgasmed. Exactly, okay. We're gonna go to this one from metro.co.uk. And it says, it's likely you've heard of people who can orgasm when someone touches a part of their body not commonly referred to as an erogenous zone. But what about body parts as sexually divisive as feet? Foot fetishes are fairly common. And feet are a very sensitive part of the body. But when we hear people tell someone, wait, what? But when we hear, sorry, I forgot this from UK. But when we hear tell about someone who reports having had an orgasm, though through that part of the body, something about sounds implorable to say the least. Shouldn't it say something about that? That's what I'm saying. Okay, anyways. According to experts, however, foot footgasms can indeed happen. Dr. Daniel, he's some type of clinical lead at treated.com. He says that the orgasmic potential of feet may actually have a lot to do with the brain. He said feet have a lot of nerve endings, a bit like hands. And whilst they're not usually considered an erogenous zone, for many people they can be extremely sensitive and for some are associated with such sexual pleasure. The most powerful sexual organ is the brain. Exactly. That's why sexual sapios begin them shit, they're fucking rocks off. And that's why as a demisexual, I need that connection, that like mind connection, that spiritual connection. I just need to feel fucking connected, and my brain needs to know that I'm connected. Okay. The most powerful sexual organ is the brain. So if feet are your thing and you're in the right situation with the right person, then yes, it's possible for some people to orgasm just from having their feet touched in a sexual way. And what's crazy is that I'm trying to remember the position that he had me in to be able to even get my feet the way that he had it. To like how was he? Was he doing like a Superman thing, like mouth on nipples, arms back, hand on foot? Hand on frontal. Seriously, I had on a frontal that day, but I think at one point he tried to pull my wig. Now that I think about it, never pull a woman's wig when you're having sex, cause I'm probably sweating and my glute's probably loosening up. But it says the doctor said the feet are an erogenous zone, and massaging the feet and sucking and licking the toes are extremely pleasurable to many. However, achieving orgasm through foot massage is extremely rare. She also highlighted a specific case where women who had regular orgasms through her feet. Wow. She said, there is a medical case in the Netherlands where a 55-year-old woman experienced regular orgasms through her feet. The orgasmic sensations, which occurred in her left foot, were suddenly not brought on by sexual desire or thought and occurred about 5 to 6 times a day. Damn. The sensation traveled up her leg to her vagina, and she said the experience felt exactly like an orgasm achieved during sex. She was treated by a neuropsychiatrist who wrote a scientific paper on the case. MRIs of the woman's brain and her foot showed no abnormalities, although another test revealed some differences between the nerves of her left and right feet. Stimulating her left foot with an electric current induced a spontaneous orgasm in that foot. That's so interesting though, because as good as it felt in my foot, I felt it in my pussy. The woman was treated with an injection of anesthetic into one of her spinal nerves. Oh yeah, because I did feel that shit in my back too. That's crazy. The nerve that receives sensory information from the foot. Oh. And the orgasm stopped completely. So you can touch something in your foot that'll do something to your spinal cord, that will do something to your orgasmic button? Because that happened to me, yo. There's a feeling that I feel in my back when it happened. Wow, okay. A sex expert says foot orgasms are incredibly rare, and it is unlikely that you will be able to achieve an orgasm through foot stimulation alone, which is true. He was stimulating my nipples as well. The ancient practice of foot, I'm like, did he do that when he was fucking me? I feel like when we were having sex, he was doing shit with my feet as well. The ancient practice of reflexology indicates that certain pressure points in your feet can trigger sexual arousal. But few experts believe this is enough to achieve a full orgasm. If you still want to explore the erotic possibilities of your feet, the key pressure point to target is a soft area of skin just behind the toes, but before you get to the foot arch. Okay, y'all, pick up your feet. Pick up your feet. Pick them up. Are they up? All right. So the soft the soft area of your skin behind your toes. Oh. But before you get to the foot arch. Okay, so this is my arch. Oh, yo, there's a button right here in the middle of my foot. Like, okay, you know what that like, okay, so you got your toes, and then there's like a little thing underneath your toes. There's like a divot, and it's sensitive. Like more sensitive than the rest. It feels like a little butt in your foot. Y'all got foot butts? Y'all got foot butts? Whoa. I gotta start giving myself foot massages because I deserve it. But, okay, so it says, before you get to the arch of your foot, this sends signals back to the core of your body, heightening genital stimulation and putting you in the mood for sex. It is worth remembering, too, that the feet are erogenous zones in their own right. I was going to say, because at first they said they're not, then they said they are, but it says that they have 7,000 nerve endings, your foot. And your clit has 8,000 nerve endings, which is crazy. Or like probably more than that. But think about how ticklish the undersides of your feet are. Rather than trying to achieve an orgasm on its own through foot play, treat it as a central part of your overall foreplay. one measure to build stimulation and eroticism. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, shout outs to Footsies, because he definitely, that was life changing for real. Like that footgasm, I would say. Although I said I didn't climax, it was like a sensory. I don't want to say orgasm, but it was a beautiful sensory experience. Because one thing I learned, like I mentioned all the time in my first sexual experience with a woman, she said, you don't always have to have an orgasm. You can have a build, you know? It's almost like edging. You can have that build. You can have multiple sensations of goodness and not necessarily come. So I really don't think that I just feel like I would remember coming. I don't know. I feel like I remember it. Like I was high, but I wasn't that high. And I remember some stuff. I don't remember other things. But I'm like, I think I remember that. So yeah, otherwise it was just a pleasurable experience. And I really needed that, again, to set some space in between the traumatic experience I had the week before. And then after that, so to say that was January, I didn't have another sexual experience until April. And that was with the woman, and then that is when I officially got tested. Because I had been wanting to get tested since January, and for whatever reason, I was so in my head that I hadn't. I really hadn't. I wasn't on it the way that I wanted to be. So I got tested in April when I really started having concerns in regards to like my prior sexual partner, and yeah, then I've been celibate since. And that shit has been an experience. So that was like the cap off to what I would call my hoe phase. And do I think that I would have another hoe phase? I think that I will continue to explore myself sexually eventually with other partners, but I don't think that it would necessarily be deemed as a hoe phase, because I feel like I said, I was very disconnected during my hoe phase, and it served its purpose. But who knows? Maybe I'll Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know what that movie was about, but it sounds like something I would do, where I travel around the world and fuck people. Like, I don't know. But there's just so much trauma, like I said, that has come along with my sexuality, that I feel like I have to be very, 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 very cautious and aware and careful when it comes to my new experiences. I just want to be very conscious when it comes to my sexual experiences from here on out. So yes, now I'm going on, what will it be? A year and, a year and 7 months? No. Well, if we're going based on my situations with men, then a year and 7 months. If we're going based on my situation with the woman, like the impromptu oral, then it would be a year and 2 months, I think, if I'm doing the math right, or 3 months. But anyways, long story short, I'm very proud of myself for this celibacy journey. It's so funny because I've had this conversation on my TikTok where I posted like, oh, remembering the time I had sex with 2 guys in 1 week, and so many people have come at me on my TikTok in regards to sexual exploration, and you don't have to be a hoe to learn about yourself, this, that, and that. And I had mentioned one time saying something about, trying to break the shame surrounding your sexual experiences, which is very interesting, because as much as I say I regret my experience because it wasn't consented, I think that the work that I want to do is removing the shame surrounding my experience, if that makes sense. I just want to feel my power in all experiences. And so I remember somebody commented on my post the other day and was like, you can't be shamed unless you feel shame within yourself. And society is not responsible for that. And although, like I said, I'm dealing with my own shame regarding that one situation for separate reasons, other situations that I've had, I haven't felt shame surrounding them when sexually exploring myself, because I learned so much from them, and I felt like I went in with the intention of feeling liberated and just forgot in the moment of what I was supposed to, what the mission was. The mission was for me to have fun and explore myself, and it ended up being something to where I felt like I had to prove, and I just wasn't with safe people. So that was that. But I never want to sleep on the fact that society has constantly and is still constantly shaming people and women and non-binary folk, and even when it comes to the whole free the nipple movement, you cannot see that there is no shame and shame perpetuated surrounding women and our bodies and our sexuality when people who identify as women cannot show their breast. People who identify as non-binary cannot show their breast. Why? But somebody who identifies as a cis man or even a gay man can show their chest. So even that alone, like, until we can all show our nipples, then I will forever feel like there was a shame surrounding bodies of women. And I mean women like trans women, cis hetero women, lesbian women, non-binary people with breasts. As long as their bodies are being shamed, our bodies are being shamed, then there is no true liberation and acceptance for women in this world. Because why does a little extra fucking cartilage make you feel so intimidated? Or why is my extra cartilage so fucking offensive when they literally look the same? Okay, anyways, whew, let me go down that rabbit hole. But I still have to say, do I perpetuate on social media that you should explore yourself sexually? Absolutely. Whether that be by yourself or with a partner. But do I feel as though you should shame people for having experiences that either they didn't necessarily enjoy fully? No, because there's already enough going on in the world for people to already feel bad about it. There's already enough to feel just for dealing with your own fucking trauma without feeling bad about it. So to add the shame surrounding that situation doesn't need to happen. And I guess it's kind of ironic for me to say now, considering I just said that I feel shame surrounding my trauma. But I think it was shame surrounding my choice. But it wasn't a choice. Wow, we just had a breakthrough, y'all. We just had a breakthrough. Again, I got therapy on the 7th. So yeah, we'll be able to really dive into that. But I'm going to stop saying that I feel shame surrounding that first encounter, because it really is just more so regret. And maybe I'll even stop using that word at some point. But if anything, I definitely learned that I'm now able to identify what sexual assault looks like. And I am now able to protect myself way deeply, a lot more deeper than I had protected myself before. So I'll leave you with this. If you are planning on trying to have a hoe phase, then I recommend that you protect your heart, protect your energy, protect your mind, protect your spirit, and protect your body. Have fun with it. Make sure it's fun. And if it's not fun, run for the motherfucking hills. That's advice that I would give to myself. But yeah, I think that there should be no shame surrounding experiences that we've had in the past. And I don't think that any woman should feel ashamed. I just don't like that word at all. I think that consciousness and awareness is great, and I don't think that it's a man's place or another woman's place, honestly, to tell somebody what should make them feel liberated. Because like I said, sexual liberation can look like self-pleasure. Sexual liberation can look like celibacy. Self-liberation can look like having sex with multiple partners safely. Sexual liberation can look like having safe sex with one partner. Sexual liberation can look like a lot of things as long as you feel like you are liberated in that moment. So that's what it feels like to me. That's what it is. And again, we'll talk about a whole bunch of other things that we touched on in this, but I just wanted to leave it on that note. So yeah, I love y'all so motherfucking much. If you want some more tips and stuff like that, you can sign up for the Lmk sign up. It's loveatiya.com/sign up. And that's my pleasure positive email blast. I send it out once a month, okay? So be sure to head there and check that out. I am doing a shipment for my self-care company, Ethereal by Lmk. This is just a reminder for that. I know I mentioned it at some point in this episode before, but I'm doing a shipment for the month of July. So if you are interested in purchasing some self-care products, you can head to loveatiya.com/ethereal or just loveatiya.com and go to the ethereal page. But you can shop for my vegan and cruelty-free hair and skincare line. And yeah, I love you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Whatever you're doing, I love and appreciate you. And I hope you learned a lot from this episode. Feel free to send me some questions. I will do advice coming soon. I don't know what my next episode is going to be about, but coming soon, I will have another advice portion where I answer some questions from my listeners. So you can send your questions to theloveatiyaexperience.com. And yeah, give yourself a hug for me. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Oh, this is such a good hug. And be kind to yourself, be kind to animals, and have a great motherfucking week. I'll see you in 2 Sundays. Mwah.